Hey, welcome back to Wook Plus. I'm Weekend Wook, joined by Kev, the Great Wet, and T. Holy shit, they did it again. I can't believe this. I was ready at set break. I was like, all right, we're back to normal Mexico,
That's
fair.
what you said. That is
That's what I said.
exactly.
And to be fair, the first set was back to more standard Moon
Oh yeah,
Palace, music. But holy shit, that chalk dust. Can you believe that shit? That was something else.
carries
Fucking
the whole
wild.
set pretty much.
The whole show. Like this now has elevated. I think this is
Yeah.
a very solid
Yeah.
show, and it's very concentrated in a couple
About
of
30,
songs.
about 30 minutes into the chalk dust, I tweeted, "This is the most beautiful thing I've heard PHiSH play in years."
Yes,
Right
since
when
at
they went
least
into that
last
Black
night.
Sabbath segment.
I
I
think it
mean,
also, I don't know, kind of solidifies the run as well. Like back-to-back nights of over 30-minute jams. Like that's pretty.
Tomorrow's gravy, and it's a
yeah,
Saturday, so it's a big rock and roll show.
Yeah, it's not even a Sunday. It's not even like that last day. Like you still have Sunday to go home and recover and everything. So tomorrow you can still go big, right? Like you can still have a rock and roll show and a fun night show. So it's just two back-to-back 30-minute jam nights though, man. That's pretty.
that's wild.
That's pretty special.
35
That's pretty
plus
cool.
minute jam nights.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Big, huge.
a melty wild dust. I mean, well, we'll get there. We'll get there. Let's start. Let's start where one does typically in the beginning. I thought this show started very strong. I think
We
this.
got accused. We got accused.
I thought it was more of a attribution or a thanks. You think it was an
You took it as a
accusation or
thanks?
an attribution? Yeah, someone was tagging us saying that it was our fault that Set Your Soul Free's returned in heavier rotation. But you know what? I'll take that because I thought this was a solid way to start the show. Is a decent micro jam,
Get it
got
out of the
everybody
way.
loose. You know?
No.
Yeah. There's stronger songs to open with. I think I prefer this song deeper in the set where they can jam it out because I like sometimes the jams that this thing creates out of it. It's a good jam vehicle song, but opening with it's fine. I mean, it's fun. It's one of those songs that you can kind of stretch out with, right, and kind of get into the groove. And it kind of picked up where last night left off with the jams, like those kind of that immediately getting into sort of a blissful feeling jam, like 5-6 minutes into the song, you're immediately into this suddenly changing the pace and into this like, oh, cool, and picking up more of those bleepy-ish sort of jam nodes that he does now, and you're immediately into that. So you're kind of like, all right, well, so this is kind of a continuation of last night's show. Sweet, I'm in. Like, let's go, let's do this. So
I feel like it works really good as an opener because it does everything you want an opener to do. It's upbeat, gets everybody dancing. You don't have to think much about what's going on with it. You're setting your soul free or whatever, lighting on fire, you're burning shit down. And then you get the gravy. The jam out of it, the last, you'd say 90 seconds or so while it was making the transition to Ghost was...
And that was a pretty butter transition. I know you guys are higher on the out of Ghost transition.
Well, it's like having a 10 and an 11,
Right. I was like, let's still give credit to this segue though. Like both of these segues I thought were pretty butter, and I enjoyed them. Ghost is another one of those songs that you get early, and it's a mixed feeling because I think it's a cool way to kick off the first set, but I think it often can be better served later in the show. But with what we ended up getting, it didn't really matter, right? So I think having a 12-minute Ghost here, pretty solid, right? I think they executed pretty well. The jam was neat. Nothing really insane.
Nothing
about
groundbreaking. Yeah, nothing.
No, but still pretty solid.
But in the 2 slot where and again, it felt like a continuation of, which I guess opening with Set Your Soul Free with Burning It Down, Kev, as you said, they burned it down last night. So the lyric works for the opening, and then kind of falling into that Ghost. The transition both in and out, I think, were the real highlights of this Ghost. The middle section was decent. It had an okay jam. Nothing. I mean, Ghost it's like pizza, right? You're always going to get a good Ghost. It's just how good is it going to be, right? So
right, but sometimes you get Domino's, and sometimes you get like a New York pizzeria, and
right, exactly. Tonight was
better.
just middle of the road, okay, but the intro and the outro of it were really nice, I think, and really again the highlights of that. So, and again, the outro going into Fast Enough for You,
Focused. That last 3 minutes of the Ghost, I think Trey knew where he was going.
Yeah.
And he just worked the band into it. And it was one of those things where 1 minute it was Ghost, and the next second it was, fast enough.
Kind of coming, and just that change, that it was really nice. And again, the second Fast Enough in Mexico, which again is kind of cool that they've played it twice in Mexico, and it's not one that you get a whole lot out. So it's one of those that
I really enjoy catching that. And I think it serves that role of the ballad or the breather really, really well. I think,
better than most of what's out
I
there.
would say, yeah, probably in the top 30% for that type. More times than not, it's like those songs will kill the set, and this just kept things moving in a nice.
But you can never go wrong with a song off of Rift, right? Like you can always put a Rift song anywhere, and you're good. So that's
as long as they execute it.
And they've done two of the best ones. They did If I Could the other night, which is the other cool down song that is just
fantastic. Yeah, you're right, Kev. That's and both of those. That's a really, again, this run has some really nice songs and some really good moments. I mean, this is a really solid run of shows in Mexico.
They were letting Mike write the set list, is what I heard.
I was gonna mention the tempo too. I liked that though. I was really digging that because when I was listening to it, I was doing the whole like close my eyes and imagining like the ocean breeze going like against my face. No,
Did you have a fan on? Did you have a little fan working?
Yeah, I did actually. And I was like, all right, I get that. Like you're raging down on the beach, still recovering from the night before, and then having a little Fast Enough. I think that was a really cool.
That's one of my Mondegreens. That's one of my Mondegreens. I always thought that it said I'd be happy just to watch you rage instead of age. For many years I thought that, and I was like, that's such a cool lyric. And then I found out it wasn't.
Is that what you're doing when you're like in your yoga position at a show, just like just watching the rest of us rage?
So do you still look at it that way, or have you like accepted it as the other way, or do you still feel?
Oh, I accepted it as the other way. I mean, it makes complete sense, the word that they use, but
I got you. I like your version though.
It was PHiSH. I was like,
it could be right, and you never know. Like you never know.
Things get a little bit rocky here coming out of Fast Enough, and we have mixed feelings on several of these songs, and we'll go through them all. But I think this point right here at the beginning of Evolve is where things get a little bit, I don't know, unsettled ground, at least for me.
He didn't know what he wanted to do at this point. All of a sudden, he ran through a bunch of songs, not to get ahead, but he didn't know what to latch onto.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily love these choices. And even though I'll admit that I'm not a huge Evolve fan, and I'm traditionally not a huge Mull fan. I don't even know that it's the fact that I don't like the songs that I feel this way. I think the way these songs were strung together and the way they played them and not really stretching them out at all is more so what I mean. Because I was thinking about it, T. I know you're digging Evolve, and like I'm trying to listen it through your eyes, and I'm like, okay, I can see it. It's like happy, has a good vibe, right? I just wasn't feeling it 100% in this spot, but they did it, and we moved on, and it is what it is.
I liked it. I thought it was okay in this spot because they needed something to come out of the slow, right? And he wasn't going to give you something big, and you couldn't take a Mike song in this spot either because you couldn't have the back-to-back set crashers and that. So I felt like this was sort of just, I don't know. I don't hate this song. I've said it before. It reminds me of Old Fish. To me, it puts a smile on my face listening to it and singing it, and my smile continues the whole way through the song to the end. And that's what I always like about certain PHiSH songs. So to me, it's like harmless. Like it doesn't affect me either way. I thought it was in a good spot in the set. I didn't like everything though that came after. Like if you're gonna put it there, you need something then to support it. It can't,
right.
It can't just be put in there and then have crap also after it, because then you're gonna be like, ugh, that song sucks too. So not that Mull is crap, but like these next few songs, like 46 Days never took
Mull
off.
would have worked as the one of those, or 46 Days would have worked as the one of those, or Evolve as the one of those. But to have Evolve, Mull, 46 Days, and in these specific versions, I'm not saying like globally, like.
Well, that was the hard part, was nothing got out there. Like that Mull finally had like 7 minutes. You add another 5 onto that with that jam, and you're probably getting away with not having that 46 days there and going right into Kill Devil Falls, which would have probably been a little bit more acceptable.
Would have worked
right?
better. I think. Yeah.
Man, Evolve would just, it never gets past a slow gallop, and it just doesn't ever like catch.
Right,
It's
but
like,
that's not what it's for. It's a first set
Right.
gallop song. Like that's where
but
it's
we
like
had,
one of those
but
dead
we had
songs.
Fast Enough. We just had Fast Enough. Like last night, we had Driver after.
No, but Fast Enough is a slow down, slow song. Like that
Right.
is a Evolve is more of a like get up, like pace song. It's not great to follow a slow song because it's kind of slow in itself and getting you up and going. It's okay as a takeoff song to lead you into something else if something after it again is good or like fast
It's
paced.
like it's like being constipated. You just keep waiting.
Yeah, that's
for
what you
something
sound
to
like.
happen.
All right, Kat, let me ask you this. If they didn't play Mull after it and went Evolve into like a 46 days, that wasn't just a 7-minute short 46 days.
That was still as ripping, but stretched out and
Right,
and,
like a
I would have
12-minute
rather
40
had. I would have rather had the 14-minute Mull. I think Mull has so much potential, and the smile on Mike's face when he was looking over at Trey playing the guitar riff, he was, it's just, I wish my 14 minutes I had, either 13 minutes Evolve and Mull is just all Mull, or
right, or all 46 days. I think we're all saying the same thing and just coming at it at different points.
Yeah.
We can like the individual songs, but the way they constructed the set list and kind of mailed these in, it wasn't played bad. It was just odd choices and didn't work to the same potential that they work in other,
Well, it was 20 minutes of 3 songs that were just not.
They were mid. And we're talking about these 3 songs a lot for how mid they were.
We always do that.
So anyway, but
spend the most time on the most mid part of the set.
Going from, but that's what happens a lot of times, right? Like you're gonna spend time on some of the shitty things. But the 46 days into Kill Devil Falls was an interesting move too.
They're the same song.
Exactly, as we talked about before, it's kind of the same song. So there you could have got away with one or the other. So that was a really interesting, I don't know, like flubby feeling or just sort of like this weird, I want to get into this zone, but we didn't get there in this, so let's try it in this, or like what it was. So
we finally got there with Kill Devil Falls. Yeah.
It was probably the best. It was my favorite song of the set. Got interesting, got out there. Trey's been leaning into the evil. I will give him props. And let me just say, after after walking out of the Gamehenge set, after listening to it, I was like, it's going to be a mid-year. After last night and tonight,
that is the most fucking batshit crazy take after that show. How do you come out of that show and say it's going to be a mid-year?
That's what I felt like after
Big Cypress. Remember though, we talked about that and we said they're playing like with house money now. They just won the championship, so it feels loose. It feels like that. It feels like they're just like 30-minute jam. Let's go. Like whatever. It feels so good. Like it's awesome.
And they're playing so well, and the energy is there. I mean, I understand you felt that way, but it's still batshit crazy to me.
And like you said, there's evil. Trey's going evil, but there's also these blissful jams that he gets into. Then there's also the heavy bleeps and bloops that we're getting to. So there's a lot going on.
And it's an evolved bleeps and bloops. It's not the same bleeps and bloops we got in 21 and 22. They've added layers to them. They've stretched them out a little bit, and they're more sophisticated now. I really, really like what they've done with it. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I kind of want it in every jam now. I'm just like, I want the same darkness and I want the bloopiness.
Then you get the cow funk problem of everything was funked up, and
I know, but I just want it for like just like a month, just like a tour of just bloops and bleeps. I don't know.
But that's the good thing is there's also the dark parts that come into some of the songs. So you get just like the Ghost where you got into that bliss 5 minutes into the song, fell into some of those bleeps and bloops into it and then got out of it. But then you got a little bit darker stuff in the Kill Devil Falls. In those. Darker. So like there's a lot of that going on inside the sets. So it's awesome. It's fantastic what they're doing.
And the one thing I definitely trust Trey and the band is their musicianship and their decision making. When it comes to that kind of stuff with the jams, I don't think that they're leaning into one type of jam too much anymore. I feel like that was part of their evolution and growth as a band over the years, but they have so many instruments in their tool chest right now right? Like you get your bliss, you get your dark, you get your bloops, you get your, we still get a lot of funk, right? There was some funk tonight, but there's just so much, and they make really good decisions. So, except for,
well, I tell you what, it's fascinating to me that we've been doing the Wook Club, right? And we've been going back and listening. We've been hitting a lot of older shows, and just the fact that they didn't have the technology then, how much the technology adds. Trey with all those pedals and being able to get all those sounds. And, Page all of a sudden has 9 keyboards instead of he used to have 3 kind of thing.
It's a lot more layered though now, it feels like, right? Like there's a lot more thickness in the music and in the jams than there was in like those, especially the 91 and 90 shows that we were listening to the last couple of weeks that are like
the bar band.
It's more the energy and the rawness of like what little they had to work with in it, but they were still finding those things in there, which was still so unique with the sounds they were making, creating with some of that. So
I think the tools are a big part of it, but I also think probably even a bigger is kind of like, you ever watch Bob Ross and he starts off and he has his 5 colors, and at the end of the show there's just like 40 different colors on his palettes because they've mixed different things and they've textured it different ways. It's like, even with the lesser tools and like starting with the same colors, it's just over 40 years they've created so many colors on their palette that they have to pull from, and now we get to see these masterpieces painted with 40 years worth of colors. Let's keep going though. We're getting on tangents. Waiting was fine. I don't want to bash on it. I think
I'm not going to bash on it.
It was fine. Do we need to say anything else? I mean, it was cool. Whatever. It was
fine. And
right.
Sigma Oasis, as T and I think are in agreement on, is not a set closer.
It is not a set closer. It can't carry that spot. It's not the closer at all. It's not, as we call Anna Love the Mariano Rivera. This is far from that. This is
if I could name an opening pitcher, I would, but I don't know.
This is like not even getting out of AAA. Like this is like, keep it where it belongs, and that's not here. We need something like, we should have had the Zero close this set or something. Like you need something that closes this big, especially after what the up and downness of the whole set. It was appropriate in the fact that this set was kind of up and down in the whole thing, so it fit that vibe, which I don't know if you really wanted to fit that vibe, but you needed something that kind of rocked this thing to kind of kick it back into gear to get everybody like ready for set break and like excited going into it. And I don't think this was really.
In the olden days, I would have put the first 3 songs and the Kill Devil Falls on one side of a tape and the Chalk Dust from the next set on the other. And that would have been my show tape from this.
Would have cut a Sigma out. And now listen, I like Sigma. I don't think that's a knock on the song, and I don't even think it was played poorly. I just think it was an odd choice to close.
Yeah, it just doesn't go there. And it's not. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Quick housekeeping. Only 2 things. Tomorrow we'll be back 15 minutes after Encore, last night in Mexico, and then Sunday morning, 10 Eastern, we're going to have a full recap of all of Mexico, the full Mexico run. And then into next week, we'll get back to our normal programming. We'll have Wook Club on Tuesday and Wook Plus Live.
Wook Club Tuesday is big, though.
Well, I mean, it's fine. It's the Grateful Dead. If you like that kind of stuff,
70 Dead show. It's going to be very interesting because
if you like that kind of
stuff. I mean,
I don't think that T and I have ever really had a chance and walked to talk straight pig, and there's a bunch of pig tunes on it.
I know. I'm really looking forward to that. I haven't even had a chance to listen to it yet because I've been listening to so much PHiSH. But Sunday, I'm gonna give it a spin.
I usually do it Tuesday afternoon, so I'm fresh for the show.
It'll be a nice change of pace and not having, like I said, another PHiSH show to do like after this run of PHiSH. So it'll be good. It'll be a great change of pace. And yes,
I think Scott is 100%.
Good answer, Scott.
I think that's 100% what they should have done. But here we are. Oh, and also, if you're new to the channel, subscribe. It helps us, and you get to catch all the fun Wook content. And if you're watching this after the fact, let us know in the comments what you thought of tonight's show. All right. Set 2.
Oh, yeah.
Shit. This was a set. Kev, tell me what you thought about Blaze On. I have no thoughts.
Blaze On is a good choice for an opener. Again, it's like Set Your Soul Free. It's a great 3.0 song. Easy to groove to. The lyrics you don't think about. And the Blaze On lyric is probably one of my favorite of all the 3.0 lyrics with the 3 left turns and the I screw up once, I do it 2 more times. It's like the story of your life. You're like, yeah, I've been there. I know that guy.
I know that guy. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. I appreciate what came after it more because again, you're closing with Sigma Oasis, you're opening with this. You're like, okay, where's the good shit? Like, let's go. And Blaze is usually not usually, but it has become, as we've talked about, a jam vehicle, right? It has become kind of spectacular in its own. So to get kind of a 12-minute one, you're sort of like, we didn't quite get out there. We didn't quite see because it's in the one spot. So you're not going to get a huge, right? It's a setup song for that anyway. So you're sort of, I was like, okay, could have done better, I thought, with that.
Is that really because of YouTube? Like, because the 2 spot, when we recapped last year's shows, I would say 99% of the big jams were the 2 spot.
Yeah.
And the argument is because they give you the first one for free and it sets it up. And I don't know, is it like always been like that, or
first hit's free? It's always been like that.
Yeah, you got to get
Since
your
Ready Rock appeared on the scene, it's been like that. First hit's free.
But I don't think shows. I don't know when that really became a thing with them in the show.
I don't remember it until like recently. Like,
yeah.
I bet you I can get you at 60% for the 2 spot being the longest song, and the other times
from when on though, because I think
feel like that's like a Baker's.
How about a 4.0? Let's say a 4.0.
Yeah, I think 4.0 it's definitely a thing, but I feel like that hasn't always been that way.
But also the opening song isn't necessarily the jam song. It's the one to warm up, to lube everybody up. They just had dinner. They probably eat in between sets, and it gets everybody's. It's like the aperitif.
But it's nice when you come out and give you like a mics, right? Like right off the bat, or like something like that kicks it on. You're like, fuck yeah, let's go. And gets into it. Like a Blaze, like I said, sort of is going to set it up. And what it set up though was ridiculous. So I mean,
this Chalk Dust, I think, is probably now the Chalk Dust, right? I think I don't know. I hate to say that. There's
I'm all in. I'm all in. Baker's doesn't see you. Randall's see you. We're
right. It's hard because every time this happens, I mean, we're disciplined enough. We do this every, we've been doing this for years now, but like the tendency is big. Oh, that's the best ever. But I feel like this really has it, because it wasn't just that it was long. It was so intricate and interesting.
Brilliant.
And it holds your attention the whole time and just goes into really weird, dark places and sci-fi places.
Right. I will be going. You know what I love about Chalk Dust and 4.0 is they do the ending. It used to be Chalk Dust. They did the beginning, then it went into the long jam, 20 minutes, whatever. Now they do the ending, finish the song, and then go into a jam. And I think that helps them. I don't know. For me, I'm like, cool. All right, the songs, I'm not worried about the ending then.
Right. They're not tethered to coming back into
Neither
it.
Are they, which is the fun part.
That jam later or anything into it. And I think
we're just going to go. Right.
As you like to say sometimes, like a tapestry. I think this was a tapestry jam. Like there were so many different patches that you could put on the blanket of different parts of this jam that you're like, this is awesome. Where are we here? Okay, sweet. Now we're going into this part. Okay, this is awesome. Where are we going from here? Okay, and I thought for a minute we were going to get our halftime prediction of a Fuego in there because it got into like the red lights and everything. And even some of and I thought, oh man, they could slide right into it here and like take this thing up. But he just kept jamming. Then he'd go into another part. So there's another like square of the tapestry that came up and things. And it just kept going. And you had everything in there. This was a blissful, bleeping bloops, evil. Like it had everything. So it was
evil. So long though. So much of it was. They went into that Black Sabbath thing at about 30 minutes into it. That was just. I'm just my jaw's hanging on the floor still because, and when they got to the next song we'll talk about, I was like, I wanted to go back and listen to the Chalk Dust again.
Yeah. Hey, hold on. Don't bring us down though. You're going to go bring us down on a low. Let's still stay up on the Chalk Dust high for a minute. Right. Yeah. I agree though. By that 30-minute point and I wasn't thinking Sabbath, but that's a good way to identify it. And that was all gravy at that point, right? Like I was convinced they were going to get out of it before then. And at that point, you're just like, holy shit, we're still doing this. And they're giving you all this extra goodness. I really like when they're
Focus.
all committed to the jam and you don't feel like anyone's trying to pull it back, because you have sometimes where it goes long, but you feel like usually it's Trey or PHiSH, but sometimes Paige or Mike, where you feel like they're trying to pull it back or pull it down, and the other one's like, no, let's keep going. That didn't feel like that at all with this. They were just all like we're out to sea, right? We don't have a lifeboat. We have no way of getting back. We're just floating. So like, let's just fucking go.
And there were
they kept
moments where you
going.
could see that in them, like watching Paige. They had a couple of great camera shots. Actually, I'll give them props for some of the direction on that one. There was a great pullback shot where he just let it go and let the lights play through it during that, and it was just that slow pullback, and it worked so well with the music. I was like, this is perfect. It's beautiful. But there were some shots of them you could see watching each other and seeing sort of, and like when Trey would shift on it and watching them all shift and go with him down that, it was so fascinating to watch and listen to. And it was brilliant. Like
If Trey had a monitor on stage like they have in nightclubs still, he would have had his foot up on it. Because at one point he was just bending the knee, just working the pedals. I was like, he is so into it. He is so deep right now.
So into it. And that was the thing. It was just, it just went. And again, when it's one of those things too, when you get to 35 minutes, 39 minutes even, what's to stop you from going another like 15 or 20, right? Like why not just
do the hour? Do the hour.
Right. Why at that point? Why? I mean, I guess you're like, all right, now I guess we got to figure it out because I want to go somewhere else. But I feel like there was still some squares that he could have filled in on that tapestry and kept it going.
So much.
I know, but only PHiSH fans would have a 40-minute jam and be like, why didn't you give us 50?
Well, I was looking at Scott Marks's, things with the timings, and I was like, I don't know. Once you get to one point, what makes you want to pull it there? Why not just go all night, or why not make it a 60? Why there? Like, where is it there?
I'm going to put on my speculation guessing hat for a second, because obviously I've never been in a super successful jam band that tours the country and
with a
40-minute jams. But in my limited musical experience, once you're past a certain point, for me, you have no fucking idea. Like, I've had jams that have come in like 20 minutes that felt like hours, right? And then I've had jams that have gone even longer that felt like a handful of minutes. So I don't know that they're really that in tune to how, if I mean, they know it's long, right? Like, they're professionals, but like, I feel like they don't know.
They have a clock on stage, man. Trey has a clock.
Yeah, but I don't think he's looking at it or giving a fuck. I think at this point, I think at the end of the set and Encore, they care. But he's just going with where the music takes him. And he felt Beneath the Sea of Stars. I'm sure it was beautiful out there down in Mexico, clear skies.
Had to be a moment.
Right. He probably was looking up and he was like, I'm feeling it. Let's just do it. Like, we're sitting here. The weather's fine, or whatever the fucking lyrics are. And he's like, let's just go for it.
Well, and then nice segue there, Tim. And then you go into that's the decision you make. Like, you decide, okay, we're gonna put on the brakes. We're gonna slow this.
Beneath the Sea of Stars did not bother me at all. I'm gonna be the shithead that says I thought Numberline was the more
egregious
move
because you knew something had
to
come with the brakes on. Like, you knew something was coming out of it, and I thought it's an appropriate song for there. He loves playing it in certain circumstances, so I feel like this was like that perfect circumstance for that to be that cool down song and where it was, and it was fun. It's
fine. It's a nice,
it's a gorgeous
song. Really beautiful.
Yeah,
it has a very Gilmore era, momentary lapse of reason, Pink Floyd kind of feel to the solo. And like Tim said before we came on, I think you said it, Tim, it's short. The lyric itself isn't that long.
Well, the beginning is short. You get into it. They don't have that big prelude and setup, which can be tedious sometimes in some songs.
We're all anti-drift for when they do that tomorrow, just so you know. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'll take a Sea of Stars over that any time.
I love Numberline, but Numberline just didn't. I don't know, man.
Like, if you're gonna get a Numberline, make that at least a 16-20 minute number. Like, get that jam into it, like give you that. But 8 minutes.
Yeah. I think Numberline's funny because it's a song that not everybody, but a lot of people moan and groan about, but then end up like
dancing and jamming.
Like not,
And it was good because
moving with it.
It was good because they stopped Sea of Stars. It ended, and
It
then
didn't
they did Numberline.
feel,
It
yeah, it
wasn't in
didn't
the
feel
middle of
number
a jam.
lined.
You
Yeah.
did Numberline Sea of Stars. Good for
Yeah.
them. So glad. And then you got this hood. Like, I mean,
That was awesome.
this is I would have definitely walked out of wherever I was in the crowd at this song and gone and stood with my feet in the ocean and just enjoyed the shit out of this hood and just stood there under the stars with my feet in the water, enjoying listening to my favorite band play one of my top 3 favorite songs. And this one was spectacular.
I'm so sketched on standing in the ocean during his show. Everybody's drinking. Nobody's hitting the bathrooms. There's no line at the bathroom.
Oh no, they're pissing in that water. There's
Oh,
no
I know.
question about it. But like,
Just be upstream, Kev. Just be upstream.
Upstream. Watch the tide.
I don't know. I think about diffusion and like the gallon, the volume of the
Salt
ocean
water.
and, right, versus the volume of your bladder, and I'm not that worried about it. It's like one in a
Besides, by
million
that point,
particles.
they're pissing water anyway. By that point, it's all Bud Light, or down there, it's all whatever the Mexican beers is. that you
Yeah,
drink.
what do they say? We all drink. Every time you drink water, you're drinking dinosaur piss or something. Like it's like that's how it works. I don't know.
Speaking of dinosaur piss.
Yeah, wait, before we get on to the encore though, I just want to say, like, we're being a little we can be a little hypercritical here, right? Like that's part of what we do and it makes it interesting. But honestly, none of that shit really mattered after that chalk dust. Like they literally could have pissed in our ears and I would have been like, all right, like cool. Because I mean, I think that those moments are what you chase, and what we got in the chalk dust made everything, like we said in the beginning, it elevated everything. So it's like, sure, I don't love Numberline, but
amazing that they took, what they did with Wave of Hope last night and built on it and did something even better with the chalk dust tonight, So I just can't. Tomorrow night, do we get a 45-minute song? Do we get something that's,
Right. I mean, tonight's was that five song second set. Tomorrow night, let's get that 4-song second set.
I mean, we're only 3 shows into 24, and we have 2 jams over 35 minutes.
Jam of the year.
Potentially, or maybe not. That's the crazy part, right? Like, this could just be one of those years, like, that we get some insane shit that blows this out of the water. I don't know. The hype levels right now are through the roof. I am so excited about all the shit we have coming up. I think Sphere, well, okay, so PHiSH tickets going on.
We are, Scott. Yes, we are. I'm a greedy man.
I was looking at Mark's posted that list of like the longest jams, like the top 10, and it had the Greek Tweezer on it and the Soul Planet from a couple years ago, and this one. And I was like, let's just clear them all out and do the whole top 10 this year, right? Why the fuck not? Let's go for it.
Do it.
All right. What else? I forgot what we were gonna say. I guess we could go on to the encore.
Can I just say,
that
you can.
Los Lobos, I think it's the Just Another Band from East LA is the album Circus Comes to Town on. And I had bought it at one point, listened to it a few times. I like Los Lobos. There's certain songs I'm really into. Did not realize that PHiSH did it, and the lyric sounds almost close to a PHiSH lyric, but it's too earnest. You know what I'm saying? But it's probably my favorite PHiSH cover, even at 5 minutes. I just love them doing that.
I really, really like When the Circus Comes to Town, but to say it's a top PHiSH cover is just fucking crazy to me. I'm sorry.
It's a Kev take.
It's a Kev take. No, I respect that. It's an awesome song. I mean, it's not, Cross-Eyed or Cities or Roses or Peaches or any of those. But for me, it's a great tune. I agree. And I love it.
I think of a Cross-Eyed as they do the song itself, but Cross-Eyed they own. Circus Comes to Town is a song they cover.
Right, but they're both covers. What about 2001?
There's a distinction. Yeah, somebody mentioned that, and I don't know where I am on that, because they basically do what the guy did. What's his name? Dialdo?
No, they do it differently, though. A little bit. Listen, all I'm going to say is when I did the cover bracket, Circus was like 32. So
I Savvy.
Diodato.
It is. I think it is on Kiko, but just another band from East LA is a greatest hits, I think, compilation, and it's on the
fuck?
fourth
You got-
side of that.
You got Scotty B on your side too now? Oh no. The Legion of Kev fans is growing.
The Legion of Kev
Look
grows.
at this shit. What have we
man.
done? No. And then 0 to close it out. Fucking great. That is a
Love
good
0.
closer.
That's a good closer. Yeah.
That's what you want in a closer, not a Sigma Oasis.
You walk away wanting more. Somebody's going to come and buy a ticket for the next night because of that.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. I don't think I said that. So they didn't do the ticket sales or the tour announcement yet. And everybody was like, oh, they're holding out or whatever. Turns out that's probably a smart fucking move because coming out of this run, believe it or not, like I thought the hype levels were insane coming out of New Year's, but I think there's more interest now than there was a week ago. I know I'm way more like fired up about it. So I think
Trey planned it like he did the first song of the set.
Right. It's all about that hook. They got you.
Look at this shit. This is out of control.
God, that's great takes. The Legion of Kev. It's ridiculous.
All right. So we're going to be there. We're going to be here tomorrow night again. And it's going to be a banger. I feel like they have great things coming.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, and members, the hangouts have been great. We'll see you tomorrow too at Set Break. That was awesome. All right, guys.
Great.
See you tomorrow.
Go re-listen to that Chalk Dust.
Right now, I'm going to.
Go.